Master Ale, stand where you are. Do not open that door. The voice in his ear was Master Veserin's, and Master Veserin was the kind of man who did not raise his voice for weather or for fire. So Corvinale stopped with his gloved hand, a thumb's width from the brass latch of the lacing room, and did not open the door. "What did you do?" Corvin said low. "A protective glamour for Her Highness's coronation address. It has gone sideways. Do not open the door." "I am inside the door, master." "Then do not let her open it from the other side." He turned. The lacing room was the small inner chamber off the princess's robing antechamber, 6 paces by 8, lined floor to ceiling with the carved oak cabinets that held Her Highness's state regalia, the velvet-lined drawer for the soul-grain circlet, the long shallow trays for the embroidered cuffs, the standing rack where the morning's robe of estate hung on its bone hanger like a sleeping animal. He had been alone in here, going through the agrafes one last time, when the door from the antechamber had opened and a hand had come through and put the latch down behind it, and the hand had belonged to the princess. She stood 4 paces from him with her shoulders to the closed door, dressed in the underrobe she would have addressed the southern envoys in pale grey wool, plain at the cuffs, the small chain at the collarbone she always wore, and her face was the face of a woman who had run. "Master Ale," she said. "Highness, there is a humming in the corridor. The lamps are wrong. Master Veserin is shouting through a sleeve at someone. I came in here because this is the room nothing reaches." He bowed. He kept his hands at his sides where she could see them. "Highness, you should not be in here. With me. Alone. Not today." "Are you ordering your princess out of her room, Corvin?" "I am asking her, Highness." "Then ask again in an hour." "The corridor is on fire." "The corridor is not on fire," Master Veserin's voice said in his ear, much smaller now, much further away. "The corridor is sealed. The protective glamour that was meant to shield Her Highness's voice for the gallery has folded. Inward. The lacing room is the locus. The 2 of you are inside the locus. The seal will hold for 1 bell exactly. No one enters. No one leaves. The door does not open. I am sorry, Master Ale. I am very sorry." Corvin closed his eyes a moment. Then he opened them. "How long?" he said aloud, because there was no point pretending. "1 bell. 60 minutes from the chime that just rang. Do not break a window. The seal is set against the room, not the air. Sit down. Drink the water on the side table. Do not, Master Ale, break protocol any further than the door has already broken it for you. I will explain at the council. Begin." The thread of his voice thinned and was gone. Princess Elena of Solgany watched Corvin's face. She had been 23 when he had first taken the office of wardrobe master. She was 31 now, and in those 8 years she had been heir, queen-in-waiting after her father's stroke, betrothed to a northern duke, and unbetrothed when the duke chose otherwise, twice nearly assassinated. Once publicly insulted by a councillor, she had asked to step down, and Corvin Ale had dressed her for every one of those days. He had pinned the cuff of her mourning underrobe with steady hands when her mother died. He had brushed a flake of mortar from her shoulder on the morning the bell tower took the lightning. He had stood at her left while the herald announced her unbetrothal, and afterward, when no one else was there, she had let her chin drop for the count of 3 and lifted it again, and he had looked at the rosette on her cuff and pretended he had not seen. 1 bell, she said now. 1 bell, Highness. Sit down, Master Ale. Highness, I should not. Sit down. There are 2 chairs in this room, and one of them is mine. I am giving you the other. Sit. He sat. He sat on the small upholstered stool the seamstresses used for hems, and she sat opposite him in the carved chair where she sat to be laced, and there was a polished mahogany table the width of a serving tray between them, and on the table were 3 pins on a small velvet square, his stitch scissors, and a half-finished length of bias edging in the soul-grain pail. "Tell me about the agrafas," she said. He blinked. "The agrafas for the coronation robe. I want to hear about them. We have an hour." "Highness, we do not need to." "We do need to. If we do not, I will say something we cannot put back. So tell me about the agrafas." So he told her about the agrafes. There were 41 of them on the robe of estate, hand-cast in the old palace foundry. The goldsmith Weil Hesnir was 86, and refused to teach his apprentice the half-twist on the 3rd row. The 41st had been recast twice because the first had carried a flaw at the prong that would have torn the silk over the shoulder under a slow turn. The embroidery on the inner collar had taken Mistress Brenna 11 nights, he said, because her eyes were going and only her stitch was one the old robe knew. The cuffs had been recut 3 times, because Her Highness's shoulder had widened by a thumb's width since the last estate day. He told her this last very quickly, because she had begun to smile. "My shoulders," she said. "A thumb's width, Highness. You have begun riding again." I have. It changes how the cuff sits. You did not say. It is not the place of a wardrobe master to remark upon her highness's shoulders. What is the place of a wardrobe master? Master Ole? He looked at the bias edging on the table. He did not pick it up. To keep her safe, he said, inside the cloth. Outside the door, very far away, someone was running. A small flurry of footfalls, then a man's voice giving an order, then silence. Through the closed window, heavy small panes set deep into the stone, he could see the line of the palace garden in the wrong color, faintly violet, as if a thin veil had been drawn between the room and the day. The glamour? The princess watched him a long moment. 8 years, she said. Highness, 8 years tomorrow. You came in on the 3rd of Iverwin behind the old wardrobe master while my father's herald was reading the patents of nobility. You carried a small case in your left hand and you did not look up. I asked Hennet who you were. Hennet said, the new undermaster from the south. Ole. Quiet boy. I was 30, Highness, not a boy. You were quiet. I am still quiet. Yes, I have noticed. He let his hands sit on his knees. He could feel the place above his collar where the heat had risen, and there was nothing he could do about it. He had not been alone in a room with her, truly alone, the door latched, no one else in earshot in 8 years. He had built his life around never being in the room she was in without someone else in it. He had built that life carefully. The glamour had put a door between him and the rest of the palace, and he found that the life he had built was a very flimsy structure. Highness, he said, may I? No, I did not. You have not said it yet. I am refusing it before you say it. You are about to ask my permission to apologize for something you have not done. Don't. He closed his mouth. She leaned forward a fraction. The chain at her collarbone caught the slatted light from the window, the small soul-grain knot at the end of it, and she touched the knot the way a woman touches the thing she touches when she is going to say something she has not said. Master Ole, listen to me carefully. I am going to say this once, and then we will sit in this room for the remaining 51 minutes, and not mention it again until the door opens. After the door opens, we will mention it once more, and then we will decide what kind of country we are in. Are you listening? Yes, Highness. You have been the most loyal man in my life for 8 years. You have stood at my left side for every day. I needed both my hands to hold something heavy. You have never once said the thing that you and I both know you would never say. I have never once said the thing that I and you both know I would never say. We have been very disciplined people, Master Ole. I have admired our discipline. I have also been very tired of it for about 3 years. He looked at the bias edging. I am not asking you to break protocol, she said. I am not asking you to break anything at all. I am asking you to sit there and hear that I know, that I have known, that when you brushed the mortar off my shoulder on the lightning day, you used the back of your knuckle and not your palm, and I noticed, and I have been noticing for 8 years. That is all. After the bell, you will go out the door first, because you must, and I will stand by this chair and let my dressers in, and neither of us will look at the other for an hour. Then at the coronation address you will fasten the 41st digraph at my left shoulder, and your hand will not shake, because your hand has never shaken yet. Do you understand me? He could not speak for a moment. Yes, Highness. Good. She sat back. Tell me about the cuffs. So he told her about the cuffs. About the bias cut Mistress Brenna had given them because the shoulder needed the give. About the price of the new gold thread, and the merchant in the lower town who would not raise it. About the boy at the foundry door who had been carrying buckets at 5 and was now 11, who could read the stamps on the cast-iron blanks, and would, with patience, be Vielle Hesnier's apprentice, if Vielle Hesnier ever bent. He had recommended the boy to be moved to the apprentice list, and the matter sat on the chamberlain's desk, and she said, without lifting her head, "Tell the chamberlain," I asked, and he said, "Yes, Highness," and the matter was decided. A long silence then. The lamp on the table had begun, very faintly, to hum. The veil at the window had not lifted. Master Ole. Highness? Why a wardrobe master? He thought about it. Because my father was a tailor, he said, and his father was a tailor. And because there are only 2 ways to be near a great person, without being a courtier to feed them or to dress them, and I was no cook, and because the cloth tells the truth, a counsel can lie. A balcony can lie. The cloth cannot lie. If the shoulder is wrong, the shoulder is wrong, and the world sees it. To keep the cloth honest is work, I understand. Have I ever been wrong in the cloth? Once. When? The morning of the unbetrothal. The 3rd cuff. It was a thumb high on the wrist. I let it pass because you had been standing for 40 minutes and your dresser would have fallen down had I sent her back. The cloth was not honest that morning. I am sorry. I did not know. No, Highness. I made certain you did not. She breathed out, very slowly, and she put her hand flat on the table between them so that he could see it, but not touch it. Her thumb tapped the polished mahogany once, twice, 3 times. Then she withdrew the hand and folded it with the other in her lap. Master Ole, Highness, after the coronation, the kingdom will have a queen who is allowed to give one office, in her own gift, to whomever she chooses. The office is Steward of the Inner Wardrobe. It is a knight's grant office. It carries the small house at the river end of the palace gardens, the right to ride in the second carriage of state, and the part the council will hate, the right to refuse summons from the Lord Chamberlain on matters of dress. I have decided to give it to you. Not now. The council would tear it open and read it for adultery and treason and 7 other things that are not in it. In the 3rd year, when I am steady on the chair, you will be Sir Corvin then. You will keep your post, you will keep your distance, you will keep your discipline. We will keep our country. He could not look at her. Highness, he said, that is too much. It is exactly the right amount, the recognition that costs the country nothing. Do not refuse it now, Master Aule. Refuse it in 3 years if you must. I am only telling you so that you can carry it through the next 3 years and know that I see you. Now, tell me about Mistress Brenna's eyes. He told her about Mistress Brenna's eyes. About the 2nd pair of spectacles the Embroidery Guild had ordered from the lens grinder at the lower bridge, and how Mistress Brenna had hidden them in a drawer because she did not want pity, and how the under-seamstress had begun threading needles for her before she got to the table, very quietly, as if it were her own work. The guild would carry her for as long as she wished to sit at a frame. The princess listened. She had a way of listening that made the speaker feel his words were the most important business in the kingdom, and Corvin had not understood the full reach of this quality until he had been alone in a room with it. The bell rang at last. A single muffled note through the seal. Master Vesserin, the princess said. The thread came back into Corvin's ear, very small. Highness, Master Aule. The seal lifts on the 2nd chime. Stand clear of the door. 5 seconds. 3. 2. The veil at the window thinned and was gone. The lamp on the table stopped humming. The brass latch of the door clicked. The princess stood. Corvin stood. He bowed. Master Aule. Highness, after the door. After the door, Highness. He opened the door, and he stepped out first, because he must, and the dressers were already moving past him into the room with their faces full of questions, and the Lord Chamberlain was at the end of the corridor, pretending he had been there the whole time, and Master Vesserin was bowing apologies down the line of the upper hall. In the corridor, Corvin did not look back. He went down the service stair to the foundry, 41 agrafes to set, the 41st waiting on the bench in his hand, and his hand was steady, as it had always been. At the bottom of the stair, he paused, looked at his palm, turned the gold piece over in it, closed his fingers around it, and went on. That afternoon, at the coronation address, Princess Elena of Solgrain stood at the gallery rail and spoke for 11 minutes to the southern envoys, and the embroidered cuff sat exactly on her wrist, and the 41st agraf at her left shoulder did not move. Master Aule stood 3 paces behind her left elbow, the way he had stood for 8 years. Eyes forward, hand at his side. When the address ended and the gallery rose, she turned to step down, and he stepped forward at the same moment to take the train, and his hand did not shake, and the cloth was honest. In the 3rd year of her reign, in the small ceremony reserved for the Queen's own gifts, she made him Sir Corvin Aule, steward of the inner wardrobe of Solgrany, with the small house at the river end of the palace gardens and the right to refuse the Lord Chamberlain on matters of dress. He bowed and accepted, and he kept his post, and he kept his distance, and they kept their country, and not once in the long, quiet years that followed did either of them speak again of the bell that had rung over the lacing room, on the morning a glamour folded inward and put a door between 2 disciplined people and the rest of the world, for 1 hour. But on the day Sir Corvin Aule finally laid down his shears, decades later, the Queen of Solgrany came down to the small house at the river end of the gardens, and she sat with him for 1 hour by his fire, and she did not speak the thing they had never spoken. She only put her hand flat on the small table between them, and she tapped it once, twice, 3 times with her thumb. And he understood her, as he had always understood her, and he closed his eyes, and he was at peace.